Hello and welcome to another episode of the Coffee with Coaches podcast. I am your regular host, Kevin. And today I have with me Sterling, is it Jaquith or Jaquith?
Jaquith, yep.
Jaquith, that's right. Sterling is a Catholic life coach. She runs a monthly life coaching membership for Catholic moms and does one-on-one business coaching. She's written 4 books and has 2 successful podcasts. She just loves helping women grow into who God is calling them to be. Plain and simple. Sterling, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is so fun.
Let's get right into it. Let's go back to your sort of superhero origin story. What prompted you to become / realize you were a coach and then go about starting a coaching practice?
Yeah, I love that question because I do think that a lot of coaches were always coaches before they even knew that term, right? Most people that I meet who are coaches, they're like, I was always kind of giving advice or I was always kind of helping people. You can really see the breadcrumbs along the way. And so, I started out podcasting, just reading self-help books. And then I just talked about them on my podcast and I helped people in that way. And I was really into goal setting. And then 2 years ago, I met a life coach. And I was like, what's that? I just felt like that was a stupid made up job. I did not understand what a life coach was at all. And then she went on to really transform my life. And I knew that's the label of what I had been doing and what I would do for the rest of my life. And so having that term really helped me go out and learn about life coaching skills. So I ended up going to the life coach school. My husband did as well. So we both got certified as life coaches at the same time, which was really fun. And at the time we owned a fencing company. We put in specialty agricultural fences for people, but we wanted to sell it and move to northern Idaho where there aren't a lot of jobs. And so it was just kind of providential that we discovered life coaching and that you could do that from anywhere. And it really enabled us to kind of pack up and move our family to northern Idaho, where we both do this full time now.
Nice. I love that it was the answer to a question that you were in the process of figuring out how to ask. And as you were beginning to realize this is the question I'm asking, the answer is right there. Providential is a great word for it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. And also it's just the power of just discovering that there's a name for the thing that you want to do, are good at, the direction you're going, just that power when you discover that there's a name for it, you're like, oh, it almost unlocks your motivation, your inspiration, your desire to realize like, oh, this isn't just some strange dream I've been having or trying to figure out in my head. This is something. It has a name and I can step into that name. It's just such a powerful exercise, you know?
Yeah. And it feels unlock was really the word because I had read hundreds of books. I've always been into business. I've always been into psychology and self-help. And so I was reading these books, but then I was really struggling to implement it in my life. Like I'd get excited and I'd read Atomic Habits and think, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I wouldn't do it. And it wasn't until I understood mindset coaching and life coaching that I began to see that my thoughts were creating my results. And if I didn't change myself on the thought line, if I wasn't paying attention to the stories that I was playing in my mind over and over again, my actions weren't ever going to change in a permanent way. And so it really did unlock all the wisdom. I felt like I had been building this chest of wisdom, but I couldn't access it. And then as soon as I learned about the power of our thinking, which I'm sure I had heard passingly before. I'm sure somebody had said, your thinking is important. But it really was a life coach who walked me through that and explained how I could actually do that. And then I was able to take all of the wisdom from those other books and actually use them. And I really just 10x'd my life pretty quickly. I lost 70 pounds. I improved my relationship with my husband and my kids, and I started making a lot of money. And so it really was a very pivotal moment. And now that's what life coaches get to do for their clients every time. I mean, it's the coolest job.
It really is. It really is. It's that moment, like you were talking about building up your chest of wisdom and how there's just like you, and you're sure that you heard the things before and they were the right things and they were the right words, but it just wasn't the right time or didn't hit you in the right way or didn't come from the right person. And then your life coach was kind of helped to guide you to that right place, that right time, primed your ears to hear the message, and then used to help you to leverage all that wisdom you built up, all that experience you built up to have that unlocking moment. And that's just, it really is to even be adjacent to it, to even just be a witness to that process, whether you're the coach, whether you're the person being coached, whether you're just a family friend or a colleague or whatever. It's just, there's such a magic to it. because it's really like you can almost see it's like the sunrise, quite frankly. It's like a light dawning on people's faces, and you get a little bit of that warmth just by being around it, and when you're experiencing it or get to help someone else experience it. I frequently at a loss for words. I tend to gravitate towards like magical or dawnings, like very, very poetic, romantic ideas, but it really is that powerful.
Yeah. And it never gets old. And I would say that one of the biggest challenges in marketing for life coaches is it sounds too good to be true. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say your whole life is going to change. And I tell people, you'll think about yourself in terms of before coaching and after coaching. I mean, it's just like a huge line in your life, and you will see the difference so starkly. And so I find that that's one of the hardest parts about running the business side is it really does sound too good to be true. So how can you bring in client testimonials and say it in very specific ways that they really do believe that something they've struggled with for decades can really be resolved pretty quickly? I mean, it's magical is really the word.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that line, let's bring things up to the present. And I've been playing around with asking this in a particular way, and then I end up explaining myself. So it's one of those questions where I ask a really simple question, but then explain it for 30 seconds. But bear with me because I'm starting to like it.
I'm here.
Who do you coach, and how do you coach them? That's a pretty straightforward question, but like the who being like, what kind of people and what point in their life and what area of their life, personal, professional, both and then the how being like one-to-one, group coaching, maybe even keynotes, obviously books, all of the above. So yeah, the who do you coach and how do you coach them these days?
Yeah. So I always knew that I was going to build a very big business. I knew that I was going to build a coaching agency where I would hire a bunch of coaches and they would do the coaching for me. So I started out by creating a coaching membership for Catholic moms. So I wanted to come in at a low enough price point that we could educate them, right? Because most average people, if you haven't heard of life coaching, it's going to feel like a huge sticker shock when they tell you how much it is. And you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's an astronomical amount of money. And it feels very mysterious. And so I wanted to create something that was an accessible price point. And we do group coaching in there. So we have a ton of classes like weight loss or time management or improving your relationships. So we have a lot of classes that they can watch. And then we do 4 group coaching calls a week. So myself and 2 other coaches run those calls, and you can come and raise your hand and ask for coaching. And so the brave souls that do that get coached. But what's amazing about group coaching is when you watch other people getting coached, you get coached. You always see yourself in them. And so I would say that literally, these are the numbers. 90% of our membership never raises their hands. They never do. They just either come live and they watch, or they watch the recordings. But the 10% who raise their hands are brave, and they bring things like, I'm struggling in my marriage. This week we had somebody who said, I'm worried I married the wrong guy. And like, I just am so grateful that they bring that level of vulnerability and that we can coach on that, because then in the chat, we always see people go, me too. I struggle with that. I have a crazy pants mother-in-law. I don't love staying home with the kids, right? Like whatever these horrible things are that we would never say out loud to our friends, you can say it to your coach and they can hold space for you and help you unwind it so that you can decide how you want to live your life going forward. So that's the main thing we do on the membership side is group coaching. And then you can hire any of the coaches for one-on-one private coaching. So we have 4 coaches, one who just handles guys. He has his membership is men. Our membership is women. And then within the women's side, there are 3 of us. And I do business coaching and the other coaches do kind of everything else. So that's what we got going on.
It's a very dynamic approach. I really like that. And also I really like the way that you described that experience, how that's such a good way to describe the value of coaching, because you get the vulnerability and the intimacy that you need to actually make big breakthroughs in your life. But you don't necessarily have to have it with someone like that, like an old friend or a family member who might be bringing burdens and baggage to that relationship that could interfere with that process. And it really is the best of all possible worlds when you think about it, because you are free to be vulnerable if you can summon that bravery to be able to share. But it's so, I mean, I hesitate to say it like this, but it's so immediately rewarding. Because again, it sounds like pie in the sky, where you're just like that can't be true. It can't just be like you do this and you get that. That's not the way it works, but it is.
It is. And when I'm doing it, I'll tell them, like, because I'm coaching live like this and everybody can see it on video. And I'll say, did you guys see how her face just changed? She just got it. You can literally see it in their body when they're wrestling with something and the coach is kind of untangling it for them. And then it's untangled and they feel free. And you immediately see it on their face that they see the situation in a totally different way. Because in coaching, we teach that the circumstances aren't the problem, right? Like you think it's your husband who won't unload the dishwasher or your snarky 11-year-old or whatever is going on in your life, but it's really that you're having a thought that shouldn't be that way. You're always in resistance of it. And so we can kind of untangle that for them and give them their power back. And it is immediate. Like they walk away from those calls feeling really helped and changed. And so our testimonials are just insane. They're off the charts and they're great. And they say, you changed my life. I'm a totally different person, but man, I'm just a huge evangelist for coaching. I think everybody should have a coach because it really does change your life. So I would like coaching to be like what gym memberships were in the 80s, right? It's like nobody knew what gym memberships were and then everyone had one. And I just think you should all be putting it in your budget because, it's what your brain needs.
Yeah. And I like the way you ended that with putting it in your budget, because some people do have the disconnect where they get that sticker shock where they're like, what am I paying for? And why is it this much money? Like, why don't I get like a used car? Or they have all these, again, that resistance, all these reasons to devalue what that experience might be like, when in fact, you really, once you get a taste of it, or once you kind of even sort of understand what it could do for your life and for the lives of those you love and care for and who love and care for you, you look at it as an investment. It's like, I invest in my body. It's like, I don't have a gym membership right now, but I've learned as I've grown older that I have to take an active hand in taking care of my physical health, because that's just the way life is as we get older. And it's not a burden. It's actually a joy if you really do invest in it. And it's even more true, I think, for coaching for your life, for your career, for your business, for whatever it happens to be. It's just something that I feel like people are learning is truly valuable in a tangible way, and are beginning to actively engage in it and understand its worth. And that, quite frankly, most of what you're paying monetarily, it's an absolute steal for what you get out of it for your life.
Absolutely. And I tell people, like, if you could go to the store and you could buy happiness in a box, right? And I guaranteed that you could lose your weight or significantly improve your painful marriage or stop feeling like you're in a prison taking care of a lot of little kids. I coach Catholic moms, so that's a big part of what it is for us. Or I coach women on their anxiety. They're like crippling social anxiety. And if I put a price on you learning how to overcome that and to feel comfortable and calm in social situations, you would 100% buy it. So the only reason people don't say yes is they either don't believe in coaching yet. They're like, I don't know, that sounds hinky. I'm not sure about that. Right. Or they don't believe that the results really are possible. But if you knew that the results were possible, I guarantee you'd find the money, because it would just impact the whole rest of your life. And a lot of our clients work with us for 3 months. 3 months. They pay for 3 months, but it's like going to school, and then you have those tools to improve the whole rest of your life. So it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah. You're getting an advanced degree in yourself.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's not just a piece of paper. It is all the tools and techniques and tricks and the relationship building, everything that you need to have that life. When you think of it that way, especially in light of the cost of higher education these days, again, it makes perfect sense. We can extol the virtues of the coaching business, I feel like, all day. I feel like we both share a tremendous passion for this rising tide that life coaching is experiencing these days. It's fantastic. What is coming up for you in the near future? I want to make sure we talk a little bit about anything that you might be excited about, whether it's just more of the same that you're doing right now, or if you have like a new course around the corner, or anything that might be coming up in the next, 6 months, 12 months, tomorrow.
Yeah, we so like I said, we have a membership for Catholic moms and a membership for Catholic dads. So we are just working on growing those. Our goal is to get 10,000 people in each one. So I think that will probably happen for me within 3 years. We're kind of on track to do that. There's 77 million Catholics in the United States, so we got a big pool to find them. But on the business side of things, which is really what I run, we are getting ready to launch a group program. And for Catholic women in particular, there aren't a lot of business programs for them, right? There are a lot of secular business programs. There's a lot of business programs that are largely dominated by men. And so we have created what we call a Holy Spirit centered business program, where we build our business plan around talking to God about what he wants us to do. And it's a very different way of running business. And I have a long history of writing business plans for other people and that kind of strategic side, but to bring in this kind of intuition, this knowing, right? For non-religious people, you would say like the calling of the universe, right? It comes from deep within inside us. And so we are teaching them how to talk to God and build their business around that. And when you do it that way, it fills you with conviction. And that is the fuel that we use to push through on the hard things, because business is hard. It's just like eating failure for breakfast every morning, right? Like that's what it is. And if you don't have conviction, it gets really tiring, right? It gets really old and it's really scary and it grinds you down. And so the difference between hustle and burnout and working in flow tends to be that kind of peace and conviction. And so we teach them how to use those emotions to fuel their work instead of fear and hustle and scarcity and all of that, which is, what our brains naturally do. We kind of teach them how to do something else instead.
I love the power of that, because I often find myself thinking about the different kinds of tired. Yeah. There's a kind of tired where you are ground down, where you can almost you barely pick your head up. You wake up the next day and it feels like you just went to sleep and you're like, I got to do this again. That's a kind of tired. It's literally a grind. You feel ground down under a stone wheel. But then there's the kind of tired of a good day's work, when it's as simple as just like having gone out in the field and baled hay for 8 or 10 hours. You hurt, you're tired, you're sore, but it feels right. And you sleep the sleep of babies and you wake up the next day and it's just, you're ready for everything and more. And it's just like, I love thinking about that and also using that as a bit of a guide, where it's like, am I connected in the way that I should be?
Yeah.
Am I expending myself? Am I getting the right kind of tired, or maybe am I going astray? And then to check back in with that connection that you talk about building, that almost spiritual networking
absolutely. And we talk a lot about energy management, because there's a way that you can be with your kids and be working in your mind. And it feels exhausting to always be working in your mind. And then there's a way to be in your business, particularly for women. And they're sitting here thinking, I'm a bad mom, I should be with my kids. And so you're not doing either job well, right? Because you're not managing your energy. But when we're really present in our business and we have clear lines where we say, I'm done working at this time, and we close our laptop and we leave that office, and then we're really present with our kids, and we know that time was even on our calendar, then our energy management is so much better. And you're right. My goal is to get to the end of the day and lay my head down on the pillow and be like, I laid it all out on the field. Like I played so hard and I'm so proud of the way that I showed up, but I build into my day a ton of rest and taking care of myself. And so let me just tell you guys, all of you who are thinking, I don't know how to build my coaching business. I homeschool 6 kids, 11 to 2, and I run this business, right? And I get it all done, and I rest and I work out and I eat healthy food. And you really can do it all when you are using conviction and peace as the fuel for your business.
So many more things I could say and talk about with you, but I feel like that's the perfect place to end it. Aside from a little addendum PS, where can people meet you, connect with you, find out more about you? Obviously a website, but what's a good way for people to start their relationship with you?
I think my podcast, right? We have 2 podcasts. We have Made for Greatness, which is for Catholic moms. And then I do Made for Business, which is super fun. And then in, I think, a month or 2, we're going to be launching Catholic Mom Mindset, which will be a 5-minute daily podcast. So I'm really excited about that, because I have this dream that every woman would wake up and listen to something that kind of cleans out the dust from her mind, so she can start with a clear, sparkly mind, rooted in Christ and rooted in a positive view of the future, because that just makes all the difference for how we do our day. So that's going to be a really fun way that you guys can get to know me too. It's coming.
I love that. That sounds very similar to something that I've only recently started, a habit I've recently started building within the first 10, 20 minutes of me getting up out of bed. I make sure I get outside and just like I'll walk, even if it's just like around the house, I'll just walk around. It was like 30 seconds or whatever, and I get the fresh air. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's cloudy, whatever, but I get outside and I move. And it's I do it every day, and I thought it would be just one of those small things that it's like something I could say that I did, like I made the bed or something like that. But it really changes my whole day. It orients my heart and my mind and my spirit in a way that just allows everything else to follow suit. And I like that podcast idea quite a bit. So
yeah, I think the tone of our first 5 or 10 minutes really makes a big difference. And, the vast majority of us and you guys listening, what do? You're grabbing your phone and you're going down the sinkhole of your email or your social media. And I would just really encourage you to, even if you just wait 10 minutes, I love that idea about walking outside or just anything where you just wake up and you be for a little bit before you let the onslaught of the world into your mind. It's going to set up your day to be so much more successful.
Yeah, it'll be there waiting for you. Don't worry. It's not going anywhere. Well, Sterling, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been great. I feel like I could have gone for 25 hours instead of just 25 minutes or however long we've been on, but just thank you so much for sharing today.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I love what you're doing. And I love that you're giving voices to so many coaching and coaches, because I think coaching is going to change the world.
It already is. I love it. Thank you again. Thank you for the audience for listening. Find Sterling, get to know her better, download the podcasts, look for that 5-minute podcast in the not too distant future. And yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.